I was thinking about this in class today, is that as I was teaching about various different things, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what's interesting is that some of the stuff seems really, um, I sort of know this stuff pretty well. And what's interesting is the first time you're actually teaching something to somebody and they kind of discover what you're actually talking about and they see it for the first time. What's challenging with this is that anytime that you're learning something new, you're pretty uncomfortable with it. It generally gives you kind of, I don't know if it's the heebie-jeebies. You're sort of uncertain about it. It definitely requires some cognitive load. It's difficult to do, so we have negative emotions often when we're learning about something. We could be positive and excited and engaged and all of that kind of stuff is one possible way. But another thing is kind of feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and a number of different, other emotions, for example, that are, correlated with feeling just negative. Um, and one was pointing out or was thinking about was, how challenging topics, challenging things, going and learning different things is actually really positive because you kind of develop this plasticity, I would say, of learning things that are uncomfortable, like of going into different areas that you would never learn about. And that sort of uncomfortableness, your sort of plasticity that you develop is actually quite good going forward because then you're not really ever really pigeonholed or thinking about something in one particular area. You kind of go into different directions and sort of think about, like, okay, what about this particular topic? Or what about this angle? How do we deal with this? Does that make sense in terms of what this actually says? And as you get experience with this, you get experience with that sort of negative feeling of like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is awful. All of that kind of stuff. It very much comes up every time I learn something new. And it's me figuring out how do I control that feeling of just uncomfortableness, of not feeling feeling it, right? Like that's part of learning is going through this. Um, if you have somebody that sort of helps you through, that's good, right? That can help engage and get you going. That's good. But then on the other side, if you don't have somebody like that, that's you're going to get all of these emotions and you're going to feel it. So I think it's important to recognize that learning new knowledge is about the uncomfortable. It's about putting you into situations that you don't feel like you should learn, that it's relevant, that it makes sense. All of that stuff is amazing. You know, you think about, I used to sort of have this sort of perspective as like, okay, you want to learn effectively as possible or efficiently as possible. And so you only go in one particular dimension, you sort of stay in that dimension. The problem is that's not possible. If you're going to start exploring different areas, you're going to go in many different areas, even if it's really sort of linear and you're thinking about this in a very linear fashion. What you'll realize is that a lot of things are connected. And then on top of it, you'll also realize that um, when you go into those weird areas that you would never think that you should go into, you often learn something that is important and that sticks with you. I mean, I think about, um, so for example, I took this course on cults and new religions in university as part of a sociology requirement that I was working on. And it was really interesting. It gave me a lot more empathy, I guess, of, what does it mean to be part of these things and what does it actually it's more empathetic, more like knowledgeable about what these things are instead of something that's really scary. Some of them are obviously, but some things sort of fill spaces. Um, that we're underserved, and you got to figure out why that is the case. And it seems like it's kind of weird, right, to talk about that, but it fills a space for some people, and we need to understand why. We need to understand why. If you learn that particular thing, what does that mean? Or having a different perspective, what does that actually mean? Understanding why things happen. It's not necessarily, maybe there are sometimes that sort of harmful things happen from it, but often the understanding part of it, particularly if it's nuanced, if you get many different perspectives on it, can really give you some insight in this world, no matter what you're thinking about. I think about, one example is a sort of calligraphy example from Steve Jobs, the sort of most profit maximizing individual that you might think about, and that was highly successful. And the reason why, part of the reason why he was successful is because he studied calligraphy in university, and that had an impact on putting fonts, which was something new and different, in in the Macintosh computer. So what I'm saying is, let's not be afraid of studying new and different things that make us uncomfortable. Let's actually go into those directions, because we never know where it's going to lead. We never know why that uncomfortableness is going to take us in different directions and what that actually means in the long run. So with that, take care and have a wonderful day.